You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. And as always, I apologize for all of my Hebrew pronunciation. I know I'm going to pronounce Hebrew words wrong, so instead of getting annoyed, I give you permission to laugh at how I say things. Today's topic is kosher wine. That's right, not just wine, but wine that plays by a very specific set of Jewish rules. Because in Judaism, wine isn't just something you sip at a wedding or use to impress your foodie friends. It's a sacred beverage that shows up at almost every ritual. Shabbat dinners, Passover seders, weddings, kiddush in synagogue, even the occasional bris. Yes, baby circumcision party wine is a thing. But here's the twist. Wine has such a central role in Jewish life that the rabbis added extra rules to make sure it stayed, well, Jewish. Kosher wine isn't about flavor. You can have amazing kosher Cabernets and some pretty lousy kosher wines too. It's about how it's made, who makes it, and who handles it. So grab your glass, swirl it dramatically, and let's pour into the wild world of kosher wine. Let's start with the basics. What makes wine kosher? Step 1. The grapes themselves are fine. Any grape is kosher. Step 2, how they're handled. From the moment the grapes are crushed until the wine is bottled, every step has to be done by Sabbath-observant Jews. Why? Because in ancient times, wine was often used in idol worship, and rabbis wanted to make sure Jewish wine was unmistakably distinct. Think of it like the kosher equivalent of, if you didn't code it yourself, don't trust it. Even the yeast and fining agents, the stuff that makes the wine clear, have to be kosher. And here's the kicker. If a non-Jew touches the wine at certain stages, it may lose its kosher status. Yes, it sounds dramatic, but it reflects the seriousness with which wine was tied to ritual. The result? Kosher wine production looks a lot like regular winemaking, just with extra supervision and fewer casual handshakes in the cellar. Now let's talk about the mysterious word mevushal. If you've been to a bar mitzvah or a Jewish wedding, you've probably seen bottles labeled kosher, mevushal. It literally means boiled. Don't panic. No one is actually pouring grape soup. Traditionally, mevushal wine was briefly heated so it would no longer be fit for idol worship. The practical result today is that mevushal wine can be handled by anyone, even your non-Jewish waiter at the wedding, without losing its kosher status. Non-mevushal kosher wine, on the other hand, must be opened and poured only by observant Jews. So mevushal makes kosher wine more user-friendly in mixed company. The downside? Some wine snobs argue that boiling harms the flavor, though modern flash pasteurization methods make the difference subtle. Basically, mevushal wine is the reliable Toyota Camry of the kosher world. Maybe not flashy, but always practical when you're serving guests and don't want a halachic mishap. Kosher wine also comes with some agricultural quirks straight out of the Torah. Ever heard of Orla? It's the law that you can't use fruit from a vine until it's at least 4 years old, so kosher winemakers need patience before harvesting those first grapes. There's also Shemitah, the sabbatical year in Israel, when farmers let the land rest every 7th year. Wine made from Shemitah grapes has special rules, like being treated with extra holiness and not wasted. And then there's teruma umasrot, tithas that were once given from produce. Even though the temple no longer stands, kosher winemakers in Israel still have procedures to symbolically separate these portions. It's like winemaking meets ancient accounting. For vineyards outside Israel, the rules are simpler, but the idea remains. Wine isn't just a drink. It's tied to the land, the Torah, and a whole bundle of traditions that make each sip a little holier. If all of this makes kosher wine sound complicated, here's the fun part. The market has exploded in recent years. Gone are the days when kosher wine meant sticky sweet Manischewitz served only at Passover. Today, there are world-class kosher wineries producing award-winning bottles in Israel, California, France, Spain, Italy, Argentina, and beyond. Fancy a kosher Bordeaux? No problem. Want a kosher Malbec from Mendoza? You got it. Israel especially has become a powerhouse, with boutique wineries in the Golan Heights, Galilee, and Judean hills making wines that impress even the snootiest sommeliers. Kosher wine no longer means for Jews only. Critics from Wine Spectator and Decanter regularly praise kosher vintages. The best part? They taste great, whether you're saying kiddush or just binge-watching Netflix. It's proof that kosher doesn't mean compromise. It just means a little extra supervision with plenty of room for world-class craftsmanship. So where will you actually see kosher wine in action? Everywhere in Jewish ritual life. Friday night Kiddush starts with a blessing over wine, making it the official gateway to Shabbat. Havdalah, closing Shabbat, also uses wine. At weddings, the couple drinks wine under the chuppah. At a Brit Milah, wine is sipped during blessings. Passover Seders famously require 4 cups of wine, which means stocking up is serious business. Even Purim requires wine or other alcohol to fulfill the drink until you can't tell Haman from Mordecai command, though rabbis encourage moderation. Basically, wine is the go-to Jewish ritual beverage. You might say it's the Jewish equivalent of Wi-Fi. Everything important runs through it. And kosher wine ensures that when Jews gather, celebrate, and sanctify, they're doing it with a cup that's ritually fit, not just tasty. Of course, not everyone who drinks kosher wine keeps kosher otherwise. Some families buy it for holidays even if they don't follow every dietary law. Why? Because wine plays such a central ritual role. Kosher certification feels like a safeguard, and kosher wine has crossover appeal. Many Muslims who keep halal choose kosher wine alternatives like grape juice for similar reasons of oversight. Vegetarians and vegans sometimes prefer kosher wine because the supervision ensures no animal-based fining agents sneak in. Even health-conscious shoppers pick it up because they trust the labeling. It's kind of funny. Kosher wine may have been created to keep Jewish rituals safe from idol worship, but now it doubles as a trusted brand for all sorts of people. Who knew rabbinic supervision would become the OG version of a certified organic label? One of the quirkiest things about kosher wine is how it forces community into the picture. Picture this. You're at a big Jewish wedding. The wine is flowing, and the servers are topping off glasses. If it's non-mevushal kosher wine, the caterer has to make sure only observant Jews are pouring and serving it. That's why most event wines are mevushal. Otherwise, the logistics are a nightmare. But that same rule creates great conversation at smaller gatherings. Hey, who's opening the bottle? Are you observant? Okay, you do it. It can be awkward, but it also turns drinking into a group activity with a side of tradition. Kosher wine, in this way, is less about solo sipping and more about shared experience. Every pour is a reminder that wine in Judaism has always been about community, not just consumption. Spiritually, kosher wine is about sanctification. The Hebrew word kiddush means sanctification, and that's what wine does in Jewish rituals. It elevates an ordinary moment into something sacred. Kosher status ensures that this elevation is rooted in Jewish law and practice. Whether you see it as mystical, symbolic, or just tradition, there's something powerful about using wine that's been made with intention. In a world where most drinks are about indulgence, kosher wine flips the script. This glass isn't just for you, it's for connecting to something bigger. That's why rabbis cared so much about wine. It was, and still is, the drink of sanctity. And it's why the kosher system, however quirky it may seem, continues to matter. Each glass is a bridge between vineyards, rituals, ancestors, and communities. A small sip with a big story behind it. So that's kosher wine in about 10 minutes. Grapes crushed with rabbinic supervision, bottles labeled kosher or mevushal, and a tradition that stretches from ancient idol worship to modern wine tastings. It's practical at weddings, central on Shabbat, and surprisingly tasty at dinner parties. From sweet Manischewitz to boutique Israeli vintages, kosher wine has grown up. No longer just a ritual necessity, but a respected category in the global wine world. Thanks for joining me for this pour-sized tour of kosher wine. Stick around for the next episode, where we'll uncork another Jewish topic in about 10 minutes. Maybe kosher cheese, yes, it's a thing, or Jewish holiday foods like latkes and sufganiot. Until then, may your bottles be mevushal when you need them, your kiddush cup never empty, and your wine always just the right balance of tradition and taste.